What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. You're listening to Ages of Fear podcast number 35, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, part 3, released in 1990, directed by Jeff Burr, starring R. Amy Heloff as Leatherface, Kate Hodge as Michelle, Viggo Mortensen as Tex, and Ken Faree as Benny. The budget for the film was $2 million. The movie grossed $5.8 million, giving it a net gain of $3.8 million. Those are the numbers for TCM Part 3. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well wherever you are out there. Thank you for kicking it with me here in Ages of Fear. I want to say a special thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you very much for being here, for hitting that subscribe button, supporting the channel. Thank you very much, and I'm very glad to have you. Also, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that like button, smash that notification button, hit the subscribe button, all the good stuff. You already know what to do. And if you're a horror fan, let me recommend a couple of other channels for you to go check out. One of those is Movies and Beyond with Michael. Always dropping just killer content over there. He does live streams, ranking videos, all that stuff. So if you're a horror fan, I know you'll like Michael's channel. Go check it out, Movies and Beyond. Hit the sub, hit the like, hit the notifications, the whole deal. Also, The Bearded Entertainment with Eric, another awesome horror channel. He's got a bunch of stuff to enjoy. He also does live streams. He does a weekend video series called My Life in Horror. That's a lot of fun, and enjoy tuning in to that as well. So go over to Bearded Entertainment, hit that subscribe button, like button, all that good stuff. So yeah, go support those channels. And then if you're just a movie fan in general and you want a good channel to go to find movie reviews and enjoy listening to competent people that know what they're talking about when it comes to movies, might I recommend Brian Lomax's movie channel. Go check out Brian's channel. Great dude, good friend. He's got a bunch of everything. He's currently reviewing different Oscar Award winners over the years. So, yeah, if you're just a fan, a movie freak, and just enjoy movies, enjoy hearing movie reviews, go check out Brian's channel. Hit the subscribe, all of it. Enjoy. So, yeah. All right, all that out of the way, we are working through Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. If you're new to my channel, I've already done a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise review series. I've done a Friday the 13th franchise review series. So I thought I would do Texas Chainsaw Massacre because this is the 50th anniversary of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. The original was released in 1974. This is obviously 2024. You could do the math. 50 years. So, yeah. It's time to celebrate with TCM. So I'm not the biggest TCM fan. This is not my favorite horror franchise. I'm a Halloween guy, so Michael Myers is my boy. Halloween's my baby. So yeah, that's my favorite horror franchise. But I do like a number of the TCM movies. The first two we've done so far have had positive reviews. So, yeah, we're on to Texas Chainsaw Part 3. So there is some stuff to talk about. But before I get into all of it, I do want to just remind everyone that this is just my opinion on this movie. So if you disagree, that's totally fine. Please let me know your thoughts of this movie in the comment section. And if you're going to disagree, you're more than welcome to. All I ask is that you be respectful to my opinion. I'll be respectful to your opinion. We all have our own opinions and thoughts and views on these movies. So let's have fun discussing those opinions. My opinion isn't the right opinion. It's just my opinion. All right. So that being said, let's talk TCM Part 3. So, this movie for me is kind of frustrating and confusing at the same time, because the movie starts off with the TCM dialogue, the script, uh, you know, and we're told that it we're told about the events from the first TCM, um, but nothing about part two. So part TCM part three is kind of confusing for me, because I'm confused on where exactly it's supposed to land in the timeline. And maybe if, for all you big Texas Chainsaw fans out there, if this is your franchise, maybe you guys know and can fill me in on that. Is Texas Part 3 supposed to be a sequel to Part 1? Or is it supposed to be a sequel to Part 2? Because they mention nothing about Part 2 in this movie. They, on the narration script in the opening, in the beginning, all they mention is the events of Part 1. And then we go into this film. So, did Part 2 never happen? Did they ignore Part 2? I don't know. It's yet to be decided on that. TBH, TBD, to be decided. TBH. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know exactly where this film's supposed to land as far as timeline goes. So it's a little confusing starting off, not really knowing what this film is supposed to be in continuity with. So yeah, maybe someone out there can inform me on that, but I don't know. But I always like starting off with the positives with the film, and then moving into the negatives, and then giving my overall rating of the film. That's kind of how I break down my reviews. So starting with the positives with TCM Part 3, I will say that I do think this movie had some decent acting in it from some of the characters. I thought that Viggo Mortensen did a good job as Tex. I enjoyed his performance. I thought he played that role pretty good, pretty well. Ken Foree, I thought, did a good job as Benny as well. He was also enjoyable, and I thought brought something to that character as well that was enjoyable. So I thought their performances were good. I thought R.A. Mihailoff as Leatherface wasn't bad. I think for what he was being asked to do in this movie, I thought he did a decent job with it. He's not my favorite Leatherface, but there are worse Leatherfaces in this franchise. I'll just say that. So yeah, he was fine as Leatherface in his performance as well. So I do think there's some decent acting in the film. I think the main couple that we're following, much weaker in the acting department than the supporting, than Leatherface and Viggo Mortensen and Ken Foree. I thought that main couple, the guy and the girl, much weaker performances. But it may also be because they were just greener and were more inexperienced. But overall, I do think that this film had some decent acting to it. So that would be a positive for me. I also thought there was some good directing with the score. I thought the score was kind of good. It kind of popped and stuck out for me a little bit. So I enjoy a score that fits the theme of the film and kind of stands out. I think that makes for a good score, an effective score. And I think the score in this movie did its job. So, yeah, I liked the score. I thought it was handled well and composed well for this film. Also, Leatherface. Talking about Leatherface, because this movie has an interesting title. It's not just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. It's Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. So they really emphasize Leatherface. So let's talk about Leatherface for a minute. There are some positives to Leatherface in this movie, and there are some negative aspects to the character in this movie. The positives, as I mentioned, I thought the performance by Mikhailov was fine and was decent. I did like the look of Leatherface here as well. They did not. This was the first of the 3 movies so far where they've officially kind of abandoned the whole suit and tie office look, office job look, 9 to 5. Like, I was not a fan of that look to Leatherface. I don't think Leatherface should be wearing a suit and tie. It doesn't fit that character at all. So yeah, I was not a fan of that suit and tie look from the first and second one. Here, they abandon that and they just go for this kind of dirty, rugged look to Leatherface. And I think it fits the character much better. So yeah, I did like the look of Leatherface. The size, R.A. he's a big dude, man, big 300-pounder. He's a big boy. So the look of Leatherface, I think they definitely did a better job. I like the butcher look of Leatherface from the first one, and some in the second one. The butcher look is a good look, but the suit and tie stuff, we got to cut that out, man. That's not Leatherface. So, yeah, the dirty, rugged look here to Leatherface, good job on that. I think that fits the character much better. So I did like the look. I did like the look of Leatherface. They could probably drop the leg brace. I don't think that was really needed. Because again, it's not really clear on what this is a sequel to. If this is supposed to be a sequel to Part 2, you run into some serious problems with the fact that Leatherface in Part 2 gets a chainsaw through the abdomen, like straight through his gut, and like that would have he's not surviving that. All right, Leatherface, the tough dude, he's the big boy, he's not surviving that. If this is a sequel to Part 1, I think it fits a little better because we did see Leatherface make it out of Part 1. But yeah, we still wouldn't really need that leg brace. So yeah, this movie's confusing on the whole timeline thing, where this is exactly supposed to fit in story-wise. A lot of ambiguity there. But overall, the look of Leatherface, I do think they did a good job on. I think they nailed it, and I do like the look and the performance of Leatherface. So that was a positive for me. Also, the Benny character, played by Ken Faree, I like this character. I do think that he's a likable character. He brings some likable qualities, like the fact that he actually cares about these people that he comes across, the couple that were kind of following the main couple in the car. He doesn't have to help them. He doesn't have to go out of his way to help them out, and yet he does. He bandages them up. He kind of takes care of them after they get in that wreck. He didn't have to do that, but he did. He, looked out for him, protected him. Yeah, at least Michelle, the main girl that we're following, the guy gets kidnapped and then obviously dies. But I did like the Benny character. I thought he brought some character, some integrity. He was a likable character. I could get behind him and root for him. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, I wanted him to make it out. I really did. I wanted him to make it out and to survive. So I did like the character of Benny in this movie. So he was a positive for me as well. And I thought the performance by Ken Faree in as that character was also good. So for a slasher film like this, you don't often get characters that you actually like and that are actually likable and that you're pulling for. So for a TCM movie like this to have that, good job. That's a strong positive for me. So yeah, that was another thing I liked. The pacing I thought was pretty good. I never really got, bored with the movie. I don't think it sped up too fast. I thought the pacing was, it's a short film. I think this is the shortest one so far. It's only about an hour and 18, an hour and some change. But, yeah, I did, the pacing I thought was handled pretty well, too. So that would be a positive. And then I thought I did find this movie mildly entertaining. I did. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I don't know if it was the characters or the performances, but whatever they did in the execution of this script and of the story, it was entertaining. I can get on board with it and have a decent time with the film. So it is mildly entertaining as well. So it's got that working for it as a positive. That's about all I got for positives in this movie. So we're going to move on to the negatives. And this movie does have some negatives, unfortunately. Starting with the writing in this movie. This is a bad script. I'm sorry. If you're a fan of TCM Part 3, I'm sorry, but this is a bad script. It's a messy script. I mean, it's all over the place. Again, I mean, just in the writing alone, very unclear about where it's supposed to land timeline wise. Like, we're never really told what this is picking up from. Part 2 or Part 1, because Part 2 was a sequel to Part 1. So if you're abandoning Part 2, you're abandoning part of the actual story, that original story, which doesn't make sense. But then just like from a script standpoint, it's messy. You get a lot of the plot conveniences, like Leatherface just showing up conveniently wherever the script needs him to show up. In order to find a character in this movie to kill him or whatever, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of plot conveniences like that. It shows lazy screenwriting is what that is. Like, if you're gonna write a script, take the time to actually flush through some of these issues and questions, like set things up well. If you're gonna write a script, think through things first before you write the script. And, I'm not saying every script has to be perfect, but don't give us a load of these plot conveniences where, as a viewer, we're drawn out of the moment because you're thinking, yeah, there's no way that character should just be in this place at this time in the film. But we get a lot of that in Part 3. Leatherface just, again, showing up conveniently wherever the script needs him to show up. And when there's no way that he would be or should be in that exact spot. So, yeah, some lazy writing, lazy script writing. There's some of the dialogue is pretty poorly handled and written as well. That whole last sequence of the film you could cut out, wasn't really needed. You could leave it with, Michelle and Benny riding off into the sunset together. You didn't need that whole last sequence where that weird, wacky guy from the gas station shows up and comes after him. Didn't need that. You could have done without that scene. There was some filler again. Scenes drawn out longer than they need to be in order to just make this a longer than an hour film. That whole character, wacky character, gas station guy, you didn't really need him at all. I mean, what purpose did he serve in this film? You know, he wasn't part of the Sawyer family. So what purpose why did you need him in this film? Like, he didn't do anything other than create some plot at the very end, which you could cut out and still have the same film. Nothing changes. You know, so that whole character was just kind of a wasted character. He didn't serve anything really significant to the plot. You could take him out, put a Sawyer family member in the gas station there, and you have the exact same movie. Nothing changes. So yeah, he could do without that guy. Didn't care for him. So yeah, just a lot of writing issues, a lot of script issues with TCM Part 3. Things that just didn't make sense, or they were just plot conveniences. Some bad dialogue. So yeah, wasn't a fan of that. Also, with the Leatherface, there was one thing in the script that really bothered me with the Leatherface, and that was when his, I guess, niece or sister, I don't know, the little girl, they never really specify her relationship to Leatherface. Is that his sister or his niece? I don't know. But she comes into, you know, where the kitchen and dining room where they got the guy hung up on the rope, and she wants to be the one to kill him. And then afterwards she goes, sits on Leatherface's lap, and you see Leatherface give her a kiss on the cheek. No, not a fan. Not a fan. Why is Leatherface just kicking it with his family? He's just kicked back in his seat there, just chilling, watching what's going on. It was just weird because it doesn't really fit who that character is. I don't see Leatherface just kicking it in the dining room with his family members, you know, kissing his sister on the cheek, like all lovable. No, to me, Leatherface needs to be a brute. He needs to be a savage. He needs to be, you know, at level 10 all the time. Just this crazy, wacky dude who's not around his family members a lot, just kind of off doing his own thing, butchering people. To me, that's where Leatherface fits best and works best. And they kind of start him out that way, but then we get the scene where he's just, you know, kissing his sister on the cheek. I wasn't a fan of that, man. Wasn't a fan of that. That scene actually kind of, I felt my blood boil a little bit on that scene. I'm not gonna lie. It was just not Leatherface at all. Not who that character is. So yeah, that was an issue. Also, in the directing, there were some issues I had, primarily with like the cinematography. I don't think looked good. There's some lighting issues. There was some exposure issues throughout the film. I don't think that Jeff Burr, the director, knew how to shoot in the dark very well, because the scenes at night, again, are poorly lit. They're poorly lit and they're poorly exposed. And if you know anything about photography or cinematography, there's a difference between exposure, lighting, and exposure. The lighting is where the light is coming from and what the light is, and then the exposure is how much of that light you're letting into the frame and into the scene. And this movie was poorly lit and poorly exposed throughout the movie, especially the nighttime scenes. So yeah, it was not aesthetically pleasing to the eye. I was not a fan of the cinematography in this movie. Also, some of the production design I thought would look cheap and just didn't really look good. So the chainsaw looked beautiful. That gold chainsaw that Leatherface got, that was a beautiful chainsaw. But just like the other pieces, the set pieces and stuff just look cheaply made, and yeah, I just wasn't a fan. So, yeah, I do think this is the weakest directed film so far, and probably the weakest in the script as far as the writing goes. But as I mentioned in the positives, it is mildly entertaining. So for me, my three criteria when I'm looking at a film, rating a film, is the quality of the film, so how well made the movie is, the writing, the directing, the acting. Those are the three components that make up a film. So how well made is the film technically, and then I look at, is there any type of emotional impact that the movie had on me? Did it scare me? Did it make me happy? Did it motivate me? Did it move me? Did it make me sad? What kind of emotional impact was there? And then the third area is the rewatch value, the entertainment value to the movie. So this movie was mildly entertaining. I don't think it was very well made, and there was really no emotional impact to it at all, really, for me. So overall, my overall rating, and this whole time I've been going back and forth in my head as far as the rating of this movie, what I want to give this movie. But thinking about it and talking about it for this review, my overall rating, I'm going to give it 2 stars. I was thinking maybe 1.5, but I thought, you know what, it is mildly entertaining, and it does have a pretty good Leatherface, which means something, and that counts for a lot. Some good acting in there as well. So yeah, my overall rating, 2 stars for TCM Part 3. Let me know your thoughts on this movie. What would you rate this movie? Do you agree with my take, my opinion on this movie? Let me know anything and everything you want to mention about TCM Part 3. And yeah, thanks for kicking it with me. TCM franchise, we're knocking these movies out. Stay tuned for the next one, Next Generation. Should be interesting. So, till next time, kick it and rock on.